Hi, it's Don Southerton, and welcome back to your weekly episode of Everything Korea. This week's episode is titled Korean Intervention. Let's go ahead and get started. I was recently asked to address a concern by local management. Now, before sharing, I'd like to state that I work very closely with Koreans daily. Many serve as expatriates, many on overseas teams. Like all individuals, no two of us are alike. The same goes for Koreans, each with their own strengths, their own unique skills, experiences, and personality. All said, the challenge I was asked to address is that the company's Korean expatriate partners, commonly referred to executive coordinators, were intervening in what should be broader local decisions. Now, probing deeper, local management felt that in their long experience in the market and industry, that these decisions were often short-sighted and reactive, and not aligned with a well thought out strategy. Of greater concern were these decisions were one-sided and not a collaboration. Now, in any case, local management felt their input and their expertise was being marginalized. Frankly, this intervention is very cyclic. Most recently, pressure to meet sales targets has grown. So too do we see an increase in intervention by Korean teams. Now add that Korean expats whose DNA is very rooted in a collective society and mindset, where they feel not only the local stress, but also the group's broader pain. And today that with most of the Korean groups, that's China and their own domestic sales down or being, reduced a little bit. So I find two drivers in this spike in recent intervention. Now the first is, in recent years, overseas branches have had considerable success. In turn, an expatriate working in an overseas branch could take credit for this success, and they would see a boost in their career when they return to Korea. Many assigned, for example, to the U.S. and top markets in EU and the Middle East move upward on to higher positions within the company. So in other words, they would serve overseas, some great successes. When they go back to Korea, it just would boost them up and give them a lot of leverage and promotions. Now, respectively, when sales are down, we're seeing a perception that their careers will suffer, and if their numbers are not met. And this has been forcing many of them to engage at a more deeper level than in the past, or the recent past, I guess would be a good way to put it. Now, the second driver is Korean leadership pressuring these Korean teams to engage, come up with a plan, take immediate action, and push forward. So at times there has been less maybe pressure from Korea for them to get engaged. Now they've been pushing them a lot harder. In some cases, this has been translated in serving less as a collaborating liaison with the local team, and headquartered telling them to be, instead of being that and an advisor, to be the key decision maker. Get things done. It's your job. Get it done. So some background. Most Korean overseas subsidiaries have had Korean management assigned from the host country since the beginning of their companies, whether it be Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, go right down the list. They all have these expats working over globally. The general term for these representative employees is a jujewan. Now, within the local overseas operations, they're called coordinators, executive advisors. And some also have line managerial positions, which mean they do have day-to-day responsibilities alongside with Western managers, while others can hold key managerial positions at C-level, such as the CEO or COO or even CFO. Now, the Korean expat model has been a rotation cycle in which the teams and executives are assigned to overseas divisions for 3 to 5 years. They then return to Korea for reassignment, and a replacement is then expected to jump in, take over, often with very little preparation. Now, strengths, skills, and experience can vary. For some, this is their first overseas assignment. This means it's the first time for the newly assigned Korean expat. They might be required for the first time really to directly participate in the decision-making process. I think most of us realize that in Korea, senior management make decisions and teams execute. So it's a new role many times for many of the expats. The role can vary within each company, but most often I note that the coordinator's primary role is to be a liaison between the mother company in Korea and the local subsidiary. That's their number one role. So where's the challenge? Well, Jujawan are skilled and accomplished in Korean-style business operations, norms, and practices. But when they're assigned to overseas subsidiaries, the norms, practices, and expectations and laws differ. Their responsibilities and assignment in the subsidiary can be in a department or specialty that they had very little or no experience in Korea. Layer on the stress that we're seeing, and we also see reactions ranging from hopeful second guessing to risk avoidance and holding back on decisions. So, full range. More so, we need to recognize that expatriates are cognitive that local markets and managerial styles are different than Korea. That said, under the stress, we see many revert back to what worked well in Korea. And this is not just only for Korean expats here, but for any expats around the world. Once the stress drops in, then they revert back to their earlier operational model. Now, where the disconnect can occur in an overseas operation is when they defer to their own or their Korean colleagues' decision. And that may be that they're collaborating with the Korean team there or with one in Korea. And then the decision is with less collaboration with the local team and more of a their own decision. Now, there are workarounds, as always. And I do have some. That said, and I'm not trying to hold back, I'm not trying to avoid sharing them with you on this podcast, but I always need to know the details before I can give you a better explanation and better way to handle a situation. So I'd be happy to discuss, and share what I think would be good suggestions and workarounds and recommendation. You can always contact Stacy, my personal assistant. She can set up a time for us to, meet or chat. If it's really urgent, you can text me. I've embedded the text in here. And if you have some more general information on what I do and how I work with companies, you can also go into my website, which I've embedded in here. So until next time, this is Don Southerton wishing you all the best. Take care.